Is right around the so whatever we're on. We're live right now. Gold Cup quarterfinals action, and Sepp Straka won the PGA Tour from the John Deere Classic.
WSIC weather calls for partly sunny today, slight chance for a shower with a high near 84. It'll be mainly clear tonight, the low 64, then sun again tomorrow, the high 88. Follow WSIC on Truth Social, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at WSICnews.com. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
Alrighty, good people out there in all of Radio Land listening here on WSIC. It is a beautiful, beautiful Monday. Had a little cloudy rain. I got to tell you about my weekend just a little bit. I'm Brian Summers, and you're listening for On the Record with Brian Summers. It is Monday. It is live. We are here. I am in the beautiful WSIC studios here on Radio Road in the heart of downtown Statesville. I will say out on Radio Road, though we're surrounded by the suburbs a little bit here because of a residential neighborhood. But if you had a great weekend, I feel I did anyway. The good Lord shined and gave me some grace and allowed me to see another day, as I'm hoping that he did with you as well. But I wanted you to say that we are in our first official long week here, as we got started last Wednesday, and we're in a 5-day spin here on WSIC every weekday from 5 to 6 o'clock. You can tune in live Instagram, Facebook, and what's that other thing kind of called? Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, and I think even Twitter. And you can see and hear Brian Summers here for On the Record. So we got a good show lined up for you. Got some special guests particularly, and we're going to just kind of talk a little bit, but I want to share some with you. Hope to hear from you out there. Number to call in. Let me hear from you how your weekend was. If you had a great weekend and a great Monday and to start off to your week, 704-873-1400, 704-873-1400, and talk to me here on the air live. Brian Summers for On the Record. I was going to share with you all, as I had come down this morning, took a flight out of D.C. back into Charlotte. But while I was at home up in D.C. visiting, just some disturbing news. And I know you have heard about the trends of the violence that went on over July 4th weekend, but this one really, just really wrecked my mind that happened there. And in fact, just not even a block away from Capitol Hill, where our members of Congress are at every day. There was a gentleman, a father, a husband, who had 4 small children and a wife. He had been a U.S. interpreter in communications in Afghanistan for the 18 years and knew that the Taliban was no good, knew that they were absolutely awful, a band of sand thugs is what I'll call them. And he decided and knew that freedom was better and that serving a democracy was better for sure. And he wanted something different. And he managed to work with his translators, and they got him out of Afghanistan. Given fact, I'm telling you folks, he had served 18 years as a U.S. interpreter. And from that, he came to D.C., got a job, was here for 4 years, and lost his life. Got killed, was an Uber driver, had another part-time job, and some thugs, I say thugs, I'll call them that, in Washington, D.C., decided they were going to rob him a week ago last Friday. And they shot and killed this man who survived 18 years in Afghanistan, only to lose his life here in the United States. So I'm going to pull up the story and get it to you and see my phone line. Let's see who I got on the line. Good morning, this is Brian. Good afternoon, this is Brian Summers on the record. Who am I speaking with?
Leroy Swain, how are you today?
Oh, my goodness. How are you, Mr. Swain? I know exactly how you are. Good deal. I was talking about the story particularly that was going on there with the Afghan gentleman who was a translator for the U.S. forces in Afghanistan and lost his life. And maybe you being there in Washington can kind of elaborate a little bit more. It's just, I think I myself can say as a former staffer, had worked last year to help get some families out with Tom Tillis's office, also Richard Burr, and also through Mr. McConnell. We all former staffers and had helped to get some Afghan supports out of Afghanistan after the horrible and blotched evacuation under the Biden administration. But this gentleman, Sean, I'll let you elaborate a little bit more. This is Mr. Leroy Swain, who is I think you as a Joe Clark educator, Mr. Swain. But you're a friend of mine, and I'm glad your first time calling the show here. You're a friend of the show. I'm glad to have you.
Well, thank you so much, and I'd like to just thank you for the good work and good deed you are doing, because, Brian, your voice is extremely powerful, and you give it a different view and perspective than the one that many in our community generally gets. It was just a sad day to see such an honorable guy working hard to take care of his family. Now remember, this Afghanistan interpreter in the Washington area, working 2 jobs to do something that I constantly say is admirable. He's taking care of his family. This young man was murdered in the evening hours in Southeast Washington. Allegedly, again, we saw 4 look like teenagers running away from the scene of the crime. And many people, the police, think that there are possible suspects. We in D.C. are living in a nightmare because of the lax laws and enforcement of them by many of the city leaders who want to be woke on everything. I don't care what it is. If it's anything dealing with police officers or authority figures, they go completely bananas because they feel that the police, they see the police as the enemy in everything. And unfortunately, crime is just taking over in D.C.
It is out of control, Mr. Swain. It is out of control. And, this, I don't understand. I don't know what that, I can't say that. This woke and this pivot to we've got to have laws. And the people there to get elected in D.C., they say they want to govern. God forbid, they say they want to be a state, and I expect all of them to hear me on the station here and come on, I'll meet you in the parking lot. But you want to be a state, but you yet can't even govern a city. That is my thing. And again, I talk about this man, this husband, this father, who had only been in this country less than 4 years, had 2 jobs.
Well, see, the focus is on, they use the term gun violence because it gives them some wiggle room. But if you scalpel down and look at exactly where most of these crimes that are committed with the use of firearms, and man, it comes back to, unfortunately, to my community, the African American community.
And the home.
And what the leaders would rather blame the gun instead of look at the parents who have thrown their hands up and are letting the children run wild.
Exactly.
And that is the breakdown of the family structure. The family structure.
Say it, brother. Say it.
Right now, it's non-functioning. And no one, and I'm going to tell you, they're extremely sensitive to political leaders, and especially Democrats. They are fearful in holding African Americans and many of these parents accountable for the behavior of their children. They just do not want to go there.
What I don't.
Like
You can
some
tell me.
people-
I mean, Mr. Swain, you have been in the classroom as an administrator, as a in classroom teacher, as a principal, as somebody very influential, and taught for years, tons of kids, and put productive kids into society. Kids went on not to throw balls through the hoops, but to become NASA engineers and scientists and those who have went into the entrepreneurial aspect of life. You've done that, Mr. Swain. So why do you think it is that somehow if you cry and yell loud enough that somehow the people get scared of you? That's not. I'm trying to understand why the African American community is held hostage by a bunch of loudmouths. And the energy of my child can do no wrong and little, and I mean that no, I mean somebody sit you down and I mean not advocating violence, but we'll sit you down and you know what to do to it. I mean spanking. But Mr. Swain, if you just go ahead. Okay, we got about 30 seconds here.
Let me tell you why. Because it's much easy to see everything from the view of racism. It's much easier to go after if they feel that white America is doing something. It's much easier to go after racism than looking at the enemy in the mirror. And as I say all
Hold that
along,
thought, Mr. Swain. Hold that thought. Hold that thought, Mr. Swain.
The issues that face your community. WSIC is your source for news, talk, now.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Christmas in July is coming to downtown Mooresville. The Mooresville Downtown Commission is hosting their annual July Sales and Sip and Shop event in downtown Mooresville on July 21st. For more info, visit downtownmooresville.com. Want to meet the Iredell County Animal Service crew? Iredell County Public Library's Harmony location is hosting an Iredell County Animal Service visit July 14th from 4 to 5 in the evening. No registration is required. For more info, visit iredell.lib.nc.us. That's the Iredell County Library website. Do you enjoy making pottery? Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius has Ceramics Open Studio. Select Tuesdays and Saturdays, you can become the clay artist you were always meant to be. You must register in person. For the full schedule, visit canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. The Wild Goose Festival is coming to the Van Hoy Campground in Union Grove July 13th through the 16th. This festival is for all the music and art lovers of the area. For more info, including the full lineup, visit wildgoosefestival.org. Love beach music? The Catalinas are playing in Huntersville on Thursday as part of Huntersville's La La Cabusa series. Bring your own chair or blanket for seating. There will be a food truck and beverage vendors on site. Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. at Veterans Park in Huntersville, the Catalinas. Have an event you would like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
I'm Dan Sutton with your WSIC forecast. For tonight, we'll have a low around 64 and light and variable wind. Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high near 88 and light west winds around 6 miles per hour. Tuesday night, mostly clear with a low around 67 and southwest winds around 6 miles per hour. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 90 and southwest winds 5 to 8 miles per hour. Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low...
Fernhill Baptist Church is a traditional fundamental congregation located in Troutman. Hear them Sunday mornings at 8:15 here on WSIC. Listen on demand, WSICFM.com.
Go beyond the headlines. WSIC News, Talk, Now.
All right, here we are back. No, not quite. All right, you still there, Mr. Swain? Oh, did I lose you? I think I lost my caller. More than welcome to call back if you get a chance. I was talking to a gentleman who had called in, was sharing. We were talking about some of the violence going on out there in the country, and particularly what had happened in Washington, D.C. I think I lost my caller. But let me get back on the air. There we go. All right. So we're still getting this technology here a little bit, folks. Bear with us. But I want to just kind of talk about, I think he's calling back. Mr. Swain, is that you?
Yes.
Did I lose it? Okay. All right. So he'll get back in. I think I didn't hit the correct button particularly there. So hopefully he'll get right back with us. But listen, you're on the record here. This is Brian Summers. It is Monday, the second week of July here coming in. And the 10th? Oh, yeah. Joe Berg here, who was our sports guy, just told me it's the 10th of July. So here's Mr. Swain back. Okay. All right, good deal. Sorry about that, Mr. Swain. You know, it's technology, brother. How you doing?
Let me be good. I'll be quick.
Oh, no, you're good.
Let me just challenge you.
You're good. Come on.
Let me challenge your community to do one thing. Tell your parents to take away the cell phone, take away the iPad. Spend time putting a book in the hands of their children. Because what happens is that once the kid gets a cell phone, and because most parents think when the kids get a cell phone, what do? Hey, my kid cute. They're more concerned about their children being cute than whether or not they're knowledgeable. So what I would say to them, because you look at them, if you go down and walk in, everybody's on the phone, the parents, the mother's on the phone, the kid, and if you take a look, kids are not carrying any books. And if they're not carrying any books, and I say this all day long, once a kid gets a phone, he stops reading. And then the next thing you're going to realize that all of a sudden your children are getting older, but the ability to read and interpret things is going to be reduced. So what happens? Kids go to school with all sort of reading and math deficiencies,
yep.
And many of these parents do not have the means to correct that. So they setting their children up not to be well educated, on the phone all day long, talking about what? Nonsense.
Yep.
24/7.
Yep.
So then they go into the real world. All they understand is the culture in which they can participate in. But the world is much larger. So unfortunately, I have to say, I don't know how these kids, if they grow up in poverty and they do not, again, to embrace education and learning, then unfortunately there will not be a pathway to success for many of these kids.
Absolutely. And you know that you and I, we have these conversations, and I wholeheartedly, and I speak, and there anyone to challenge me on it, agree with you 150%. You know, it's a thing to. I mean, and I grew up in South States where I grew up in public housing. It doesn't matter where you are, but it has to be the ability to want to see something different for yourself. You've got, as my good friend down in Texas, Dr. Ronnie Morrison will say, I can't want it for you more than you got to want it for yourself. He says that. And he says, you know, he's had that when he's instructed his kids and as he raised his family. I can't want it more than you do. We can want to give all our kids all of the supply things in life. But if we're not giving them the nurturing things, it's going to help them to go out here and be a success in their eyes. They've got to see themselves in these places. We can give them all of the tools, but if you don't know how to open the box to use the tools, it's hopeless. It's hopeless. And so, you know, I'm looking at this again. I mean, it really just turned all weekend long about this. I say he's a hero because he stuck his neck out on the line for American forces, with them, supporting them, being their interpreter, being a guide in Afghanistan for 18 years, only to come here and lose your life on the deadly violence in the streets of Washington, D.C. That is a crime right there in itself. That is what the mayor of D.C. ought to be. She should actually, if she can't do the job, resign. If she can't find adequate police to protect all of her citizens, not just those around Capitol Hill. And I understand that they probably had more police and Metropolitan Police dispatched down there of the Biden White House when they were having fireworks and whatever celebration that they were doing. I don't know if people running around there with Kool-Aid packs or not, but I mean, I understand that's where all of the detailed MPD officers were over July 4th weekend. They're all down there around 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, while your citizens, your taxpayers, are vulnerable in Washington, D.C. What say you, Mr. Swain?
No, well, you hit it spot on. And the police department is frustrated. Why? Because they realize two things. Their hands are tied. We all are living in post, young man that was killed in Minnesota.
George Floyd.
Yeah, we're living in the George Floyd. So what? Everybody wants to practice social justice and hold no one accountable. While the criminals are laughing at you because they say, oh, that's exactly what I want.
They're taking advantage of it.
So they're running amok. We're attacking the police officers. We're more concerned about what they're doing in the line of work than what we are not doing.
That's exactly right.
Is shameful.
Yep. Because as you say, replace all those cell phones with books. Something that I'm going to start here. We're going to have a book club here on the record with Brian Summers, and I'm going to profile. I have a good friend that I'm going to make the announcement on Wednesday. She is a celebrity. She is out of Hollywood, but she is right, and she's on the right side, and she's done a couple children's books, and so and I'll kind of leave it at that till I'll bring out the surprise. But she's big time, and but she's a personal friend of mine, and so she has a couple of books. We're going to feature, a book here every month to kind of encourage the parents, but also the kids into reading. I'm on the Friends of the Library here in Iredell County, my home county, and a huge supporter and fan of library and literacy and reading. Also used to be on the Bush Foundation Literacy down in Texas, the library. And but I can't do that and then not push books and advocacy for reading itself. And over the summer, kids fall behind, lag behind, and then they're further behind by the time August and September comes, time to go back to school. So, I mean, education has to be the value. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Swain.
No, you said so much. And what they need to do, somebody needs the leaders in the city need to straighten up their backs and demand one thing. We're not going to have cell phones in the classroom. Kids cannot use them. They're going to have to get back to, again, spending more time on task. And the time on task is that you have to get back to reading, the art of reading, the practice of reading. And that's what is suffering today. There's absolutely no reading going on at home.
Yep. And a library card is free.
There's very little going on in school.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And I push and advocate for this. Library cards are free. It's a matter of just going in, getting one. And all the books, it's really, previous generations used to do everything to encourage and push the next generation. And somewhere along the lines that has fallen off and relates specifically to the African-American community. I think I can say that. You can say that. We're both African-Americans. So we're not saying anything that's going to harm or hurt somebody's feelings. Hell no, we're going to say this right here. That it has to start in the area of education and the accountability in the classroom, at home. It all can't be, as I heard somebody say one time, you can't drop off your kid in kindergarten and then pick him up in 12th grade. That's just not it. You've got to be there and in the aspect of working with and dealing with. If you're listening out there here in Iredell County and surrounding area, I'm talking to a caller, Mr. Leroy Swain, a personal friend of mine called in, excellent educator. We're talking about some of the issues in society and how we get back to some very basic family, some very basic traditions in the classroom with learning, approaching, and also this violent crime. We both, was just completely horrified of the killing of the Afghanistan translator who was killed in Washington, D.C. after moving his family. Was it 4 years or 4 months he had been here in the States, Mr. Swain?
He had been here since, I think it's a little longer than a year now.
Wow.
And let me just say one thing. See, everybody wants to blame why kids can't learn and why crime on the pandemic. Man, we got to get beyond that. That's nothing but a cop-out. Everything is spiraled back to the pandemic. Well, the pandemic is gone. And again, that doesn't justify why Johnny won't go to school and open up a book, or why Johnny won't follow any rules, or why Johnny won't respect the law. It has nothing to do with that, and leaders today want to hide all social problems under the umbrella of the pandemic. Well, we got to move forward. And the people who tell me, well, the pandemic is the reason for everything, you know what I asked them? How come your children can read and write? Mm-hmm. How come your children are not out there committing crime? You tell me what you are doing in order your children to be successful, because you say one thing to yours
and something different to ours.
Somebody else, and that's the problem.
Hold that thought, Mr. Swain. Got a break. We'll come back right, and we're talking. Boy, we're having some good ones going on here today, folks. Listen, on the record, Brian Summers.
Local news and weather now on the new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. News, talk, now.
I'm Mike Jackson, WSIC News. 3 sitting Cornelius commissioners, Colin Firkt, Michael Osborne, and Todd Sansbury, filed to seek re-election Friday, along with 2 newcomers, Susan Johnson and Scott Higgins. Dennis Bilodeau, a sitting commissioner, has filed to run for mayor. He'll run against Woody Washam, who also filed Friday. Former commissioners Michael Miltick and Thurman Ross are expected to file this week. Filing closes at noon on July 21st. And Senators Tom Tillis, Republican from Cornelius, North Carolina, and John Ossoff, Democrat from Georgia, recently introduced a bipartisan bill to help young military families afford housing in their communities. The Junior Enlisted Housing Affordability Act would improve how the Department of Defense calculates housing allowances for junior enlisted service members along with dependents to more accurately assess their housing costs. Now sports with Joe Berg.
NASCAR was at Atlanta Motor Speedway over the weekend. William Byron took home the win in the rain-shortened race for his 4th win of the year. Also, Charlotte FC played Cincinnati to a 2-2 draw.
WSIC weather calling for partly sunny skies today. Slight chance for a shower with a high near 84. It'll be mainly clear tonight, the low 64, then sunshine returns for tomorrow, the high 88. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
Folks, you know Randy Marion sells vehicles the King of Price way, but did you know our service department? We service vehicles the King of Price way. We sell tires, we sell brakes, we sell batteries, we sell the maintenance. We help you keep your vehicle on the road safe, ready to drive, whatever the season is. Randy Marion Service Departments have you covered. Come see us today, because folks, again, you know we sell the King of Price way, and we do service the King of Price way.
King of Price, RandyMarionStatesville.com.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now to learn more.
Call 844-TAX-LAWS, 844-TAX-LAWS, 844-TAX.
Black Powder Coffee is joining Mooresville's 150th anniversary celebration with a special coffee blend just for the occasion. Introducing Black Powder's 1873 blend. It's bold and strong with caramel notes and a bright ending. A portion of all proceeds is being donated to the Mooresville Museum to help continue documenting the history of the town. Black Powder Coffee, 261 Rolling Hill Road in Mooresville, or online at blackpowdercoffee.com.
If you need home medical equipment, call Lowry Drug in Statesville. We have everything you need in stock, including portable oxygen concentrators, CPAPs, masks, lift chairs, wheelchairs, scooters, hospital beds, supplies, and anything else you need. Get it when you need it. Check out LowryDrug.com or call 704-873-2247. Lowry Drug, your hometown source since 1959, across from Iredell Memorial Hospital. We are worth the drive. Come see us.
Do warm days and cool nights have you itching to spend more time outside? G&B Energy can help with your outdoor oasis with gas grills from Broil King in Wilmington, charcoal grills from Komodo Joe, and pellet grills too. Fill your grill cylinder for only $15 on Tuesdays this month, and gas fire pits start at only $450. G&B Energy in Statesville at 120 Entercraft Drive or gbenergy.com.
This is North Carolina Senator Vicki Sawyer. Join me on Fridays at 11 a.m. for our show, We're Just Saying. We'll discuss state and local politics, and as always, take your calls here on News Talk WSIC.
The #1 news station for Lake Norman and Statesville. News Talk WSIC.
I like that. Oh, my cousin Justin hooked up some kind of beat there. Still got Mr. Leroy Swain with us for a little bit here. Hang tight, Mr. Swain. But I like that scratch. My new theme music here. So we're in a good conversation here, folks. You're listening to On the Record with Brian Summers here on WSIC News Talk Now. And we're talking with a gentleman that I highly respect and I call on and have frequent conversations with a lot of times. He is my guy and a go-to for a lot of things. But he is. Talk to us there, Mr. Swain.
Yes, well, Brian, let me just say one thing. You keep the good work up because, again, information is powerful. And before we end, I know two things are going on in your community that you're pushing everybody. If you want to make a change, I don't care where you live in this country, whether it's Washington, D.C. or Statesville, North Carolina, people have to vote. They need to be registered to vote. They need to be able to vote no matter whether it's raining, snowing, or whatever the rules are. You got to vote in order to make a difference, in order for your voice to be heard. And the time is now. Our community cannot wait any longer for change to take place. Our children cannot wait. Our schools cannot wait. We have to move with dispatch right now. It's either now, I hate to say it, or never. And the motto ought to be in Statesville when kids, no matter what you do in your private life, no exceptions, no excuses, you're going to rise to the top and not allow anyone to keep you down. So again, you must keep up the good work, Brian.
We're going to keep on trying here, Mr. Swain. We're going to keep on trying. I'll give you my sole promise on that. But also, too, there's some good brothers who listen to this show. Carl Mitchell and Jim Dooley are regulars. And so there's some good. And this Miss Jeanette also, too. I cannot think her last name. Please forgive me. But we got some regular folks who out there who have been with me since I began the station here really back in February, who have hung with me, and we not always agree on everything, but have been very core on some of the very values that we need back into society. We need back into the home. We need back onto the workplace. We need back into the classroom. So I thank you so very much for tuning in, and tell your friends, because we can be heard worldwide as we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So you can find For the Record there with Brian Summers, Monday through Friday from 5 to 6 o'clock. I thank you, my friend. God bless you. Good speed, and I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you, Brian. Was that for me?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna move on. Anything else?
No.
You just keep pushing, Brian, because we can. I mean, I don't care in Statesville, just like when you're in D.C. Your voice, your perspective is so important. You have so much experience and a wide variety of experience. And let's face it, man, you call it like you see it.
That's the only way you can do it.
No cut card.
No cut card.
And that's what we need.
Yep, absolutely. Well, you got it. Well, you always got a voice here. You always got and got a voice here, Mr. Swain. Anytime you want to call in, pick up that phone, log on, check us out here at For the Record down here in Statesville, North Carolina, WSIC, News Talk, 1400, News Talk Now. You're welcome, my brother.
Thank you so much, and I'll see you later, and keep the good work up. And please tell your callers to hang in there with you. And I know someone may disagree with your perspective, but I tell you, I trust you because you're going to call it like you see it.
That's the only way to do it. Call it straight. No chaser. You got it. All right, Mr. Swain. God bless you, brother.
Man. Bye-bye now.
All right. All right. So that there's a guy who, if you ever saw the movie Lean on Me, the Joe Clark role is fit for that gentleman there, Mr. Swain. That is exactly who he is, who and what he believes. He is straight. He is an academic for sure, but an in the classroom guy. He is an AP history teacher there in Washington, D.C., and has just been around for many years and taught a lot of kids. You would not believe to see him that he gets up and runs 5 to 7 miles every day, and he is over 70 years old. Not no problem. Absolutely. Runs it every day. Excellent shape. But he's a good friend of mine, my neighbor. We're going to move on a little bit more. We're talking about, particularly the show started off, was really saying, sharing with you about a tragedy that happened in D.C. over the weekend and how that matters. Is that an Afghan citizen who had helped the U.S. soldiers there in Afghanistan came to D.C. and in a year lost his life on the streets of D.C., working his second job as an Uber driver. And he had a wife and 4 kids here and was still working to send money back home after the Biden administration's disastrous pullout rather abruptly from Afghanistan without any planning. I'm sure if there had been more careful planning, maybe this gentleman would have been able to have a little more resourceful, organized, and have a proper evacuation. But, that's to save that fight and that overview for another day. But surely we can't ask the responsibility of kids and in the classroom, and then we have governments that are not as responsible as they should be. And you ran for president, you are the president, and so you bear the responsibility of the things that come with being president. And that's just a position that I take, and I won't back down from it. I'll own it, and I'm not always right, but I'm to the right. I like to say. Well, we're going to move on a little bit more in the area of foreign policy. I have a gentleman that's going to call in here a second. President Biden is on his way overseas. Well, he's in London right now, and he's going to the NATO summit that they're going to have there in Lithuania. And they're considering allowing Sweden into NATO as the 32nd nation. And so some still discussion about having Ukraine and the position of NATO when it deals with Ukraine. So I'm going to talk with a gentleman here who I consider a State Department foreign policy expert. Hart. He is not with the State Department, but he runs a think tank there in Washington, D.C. As we talk a little foreign policy of what's happening with NATO and a little bit of foreign policy and what can to be expected coming out of the summit over there that President Biden is at over there. And his name is Ellie Gold. And he put it out there for him. We're going to hear from him. He is really someone who has traveled and been in those regions of the world many, many times in Jerusalem and all over the East Bank, particularly, and the West Bank, and has traveled particularly extensively in Kurdistan. And so he has that wealth of knowledge. So, Ellie, if you're ready, you can give a call at 704-873-1400. We're ready for you, good brother. But in the meantime, I hope you're enjoying the show and some of the things that we're discussions we're having. As I said, it will never be an exact every single day kind of laid up. We have a perspective to share here and share with you that is just very broad itself. Oh, my line is lighting up here. I think this is Mr. Gold calling on the foreign policy think tank line. Hello, you're on with For the Record with Brian Summers. Hello. Ellie, do we have you?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. There you go. All right. This is only my first real full week, brother, so I'm still in the learning curve.
Okay.
But how are you doing? How are you doing? Are you in your now? I mean, I got to give people a set the stage here that you are in Washington D.C. actually, and you will be taking off. We're gonna talk a little bit, and I'm gonna go to a break and then bring you back on the other side, Ellie. Is that all right?
That sounds good to me.
Okay, just tell your chauffeur to pull over while you have this little chat with me for about 30 seconds. Now, it's good to talk to you, my friend.
No, you know what? The pleasure's all mine. I don't know that people understand is that Brian Summers has sat for 20 years in one of the most powerful offices in the United States and worked there. And then has moved down to North Carolina to spread the wealth and share the knowledge that you have. People really need to understand what they're listening to and who they have on on the air.
Something. You're something else, my friend. But all right, we'll call you back on the side of the break, okay? All right, hang with me, Ellie.
Excellent.
News and talk. WSIC.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Christmas in July is coming to downtown Mooresville. The Mooresville Downtown Commission is hosting their annual July Sales and Sip and Shop event in downtown Mooresville on July 21st. For more info, visit downtownmooresville.com. Want to meet the Iredell County Animal Service crew? Iredell County Public Library's Harmony location is hosting an Iredell County Animal Service visit July 14th from 4 to 5 in the evening. No registration is required. For more info, visit iredell.lib.nc.us. That's the Iredell County Library website. Do you enjoy making pottery? Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius has Ceramics Open Studio. Select Tuesdays and Saturdays, you can become the clay artist you were always meant to be. You must register in person. For the full schedule, visit canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. The Wild Goose Festival is coming to the Van Hoy Campground in Union Grove July 13th through the 16th. This festival is for all the music and art lovers of the area. For more info, including the full lineup, visit wildgoosefestival.org. Love beach music? The Catalinas are playing in Huntersville on Thursday as part of Huntersville's La La Cabusa series. Bring your own chair or blanket for seating. There will be a food truck and beverage vendors on site. Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. at Veterans Park in Huntersville, the Catalinas. Have an event you would like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
I'm Dan Sutton with your WSIC forecast. For tonight, we'll have a low around 64 and light and variable wind. Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high near 88 and light west winds around 6 miles per hour. Tuesday night, mostly clear with a low around 67 and southwest winds around 6 miles per hour. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 90 and southwest winds 5 to 8 miles per hour. Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low...
Listen up, Carolinas. It's the summer of Jeep at the #1 Jeep dealer, Lake Norman Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Over 800 new Jeeps available, and we guarantee to beat any deal in the nation. I-77 exit 28 or LakeNormanChrysler.com.
All the news, one station. News Talk WSIC.
All right. Going on right here. Some pretty good music. This is For the Record. I'm your host, Brian Summers. It is a beautiful Monday here in Statesville out on Radio Road. Tune in to us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And you can find us live on Facebook Live and look for my shiny bald head and traditional, very blue blazer. That is me. And I'm Brian Summers. I'm your host here. So we had on the time, and I've got my good friend of mine who is, I call him a foreign policy analyst, an expert for many things, Ellie Gold. He is on, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about foreign policy, something we're going to make a little regular here, at least have him check in once a month, kind of give us a world view of what's going on. As I have traveled the world, he's an international traveler for sure, but he has a think tank in the nation's capital who advises many members of Congress on various different things, and we're going to hear from Ellie Gold. So, Ellie, you're still with me? Hang tight, brother.
I'm here.
All right, here you go. All right, welcome, Mr. Gold. Welcome For the Record here with Brian Summers. And welcome to North Carolina. You've been here before, but we're so glad to have you. I'm honored to call you my friend and have you on. Talk to us about what we might be able to expect going on over in NATO once Biden gets there. I think he must be having a free lunch over there with the King Charles, actually, of England. So give us some perspective.
Well, his lunch with King Charles in London that took place earlier today, and no doubt he was there to talk about the environment. But if I can, listen, it's always wonderful for him to go to talk about the environment and climate change, as he takes Air Force One and the rest of the fleet over,
which is not exactly environmentally friendly.
But again, we know that's always the way things work. As we go to Davos, Switzerland, for the Davos, to talk about climate change, and of course. We have 1,000 private jets that fly over there. Nobody can carpool. So that what happens there is clearly par for the course. But Brian, I do want to mention one thing to you. I was listening intently to your previous caller, and we're talking about the terrible thing that happened in Washington with the killing of this interpreter, which, of course, by the way, as you know, this isn't the first time it's happened. We've had Navy SEALs come back from fighting over in Iraq and Afghanistan and elsewhere, and then they go out to the bar with a friend in the evening, and then they get shot right outside the bar. So we understand. I mean, this is becoming commonplace. But and again, I don't want to get sidetracked here. But just for a moment, I wanted to tell you an incident that happened several years ago. The deputy chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee in Egypt's parliament, called me and says, did you know that the United States put a travel warning on travel to Egypt? Now, that was shortly after I had come back from one of my several trips.
What trouble did you cause over there in
I'm telling you,
We're speaking with Ellie Gold, everybody.
Because, the reason was, nobody called them. She said, nobody calls me and says to me, by the way, your ambassador didn't say, hey, we're about to put a travel warning on. And they said, and the reason is there were too many killings in Egypt. Well, she wrote a letter to the House Foreign Relations Committee in Washington, and which did not go over well because her complaint was if you include Baltimore, Chicago, and New York, there were more killings there than there were in the entire country of Egypt that had murders. We're talking about that has at the time 90 million people living there. So it's important that we have an understanding of what's happening across the globe. But to your point, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was coughing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, but to your question about NATO, I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what's happening. You know, they're now referring to the 31 plus Sweden who are going to be participating in NATO. So it was understood in advance that Sweden was going to partake.
But here's my thing. Here's my point. I mean, we both have been, I guess, Washington insiders for a long time, Ellie, and it just, to me, I mean, there are much more pressing things than Sweden's admission into NATO. I mean, I still have not seen where forcefully our government has come out and said anything about what China is up to in any kind of aggressive manner. They have really lacklustered their way across the line, and even addressing Iran and what's going on in the Gulf of Oman as far as those oil tankers. I mean, I'm just not seeing out of this White House, I'm not seeing the level of professionalism or really taking foreign policy serious. Now, and this president was at one time chair of foreign relations. And I'm trying to figure out, if you're the chair of foreign relations, and this goes back to my whole Afghan exit strategy, you got to know how to evacuate a country. That must have had to be in your radar and in your billywhack. How in the world are you chair of foreign relations and have no idea or strategy on how to evacuate U.S. forces from a country? I mean, that's just number one. I mean, I just kind of, all of this, the pomp and circumstance, he had lunch with the king. My thing is, I thought we fought wars to get rid of kings, but now we're going over and bowing in front of them again. But I don't know. That's just me and my crankiness here on this Monday.
Well, first of all, everything you're saying is correct. I mean, this president has not yet bowed to kings. It was President Obama that bowed to the King of Saudi Arabia.
Same tradition.
He was the one that went on an apology tour around the world, talking about all of the United States iniquities. But I think that everything that you're saying is spot on. Should Sweden join NATO? I believe that Sweden should join NATO. Should they fast track Ukraine to NATO? Well, that's a whole different discussion, and that's a discussion that will take probably 4 hours, not 1/4 of an hour.
You're right in that aspect as far as that, but I got to tell you now.
But to respond to your point, which is a completely separate. I mean, I think that we do have to focus on NATO. We do also have to focus on the other issues. I just recently, within the past couple of weeks, hosted a conference to talk about our alliance strategy. That's our relationship with other countries. And I had 10 countries sitting around the same table, all discussing the issues of the departure from true alliances. This administration has diminished our alliances both in the Middle East and in the Pacific, and of course, which people don't even think about, the transatlantic alliance. And the transatlantic alliance is the most important, and that's with Europe. I'm not talking about NATO. I'm talking about the transatlantic alliance. That includes our trade and everything. NATO is more of a defensive organization. Well, we're talking about the alliances.
Well, wouldn't it be fair to say then Ellie, and we can cut in on each other because that's how we talk to each other. This current administration has no foreign policy. They don't have a map to do so. Now, I mean, you may disagree, but I think about the Kurds in Kurdistan. I mean, we've got alliances that we can take care of really true allies, build up allies, enforce, and really get some true allies in our corner, and we be supportive of them around the globe. We've just not done it. We're not building those strategic alliances on the continent of Africa. We've said nothing about what's going on in the Gulf of Oman, and Iran and China are running amok in so many ways. India, he came, now you want to talk about bow, and he bowed to the Prime Minister of India when he came here 2 weeks ago and gave him a fancy state dinner, and this guy is not any good on the world stage. Modi?
Okay.
So
ruffling
the feathers.
So I'll tell you.
I got 30 seconds. All right.
This president does have a foreign policy. His foreign policy is to diminish the standing of the U.S. He's trying to level the playing field, sort of like what President Obama did.
I don't agree with that.
He has three overarching strategies for the Middle East, or issues for the Middle East. Number one is normalizing relations with Iran. Number two is trying to create a Palestinian Israel peace, which no president has been able to do. It's impossible to create peace amongst two peoples who want the same thing,
10
who
seconds.
claim to want the same thing. And the third thing is trying to get the Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords prior to the 2024 election.
All right. Got to roll out, my friend. I don't agree. I don't think he has any. I don't think he knows where one is. And that's just my opinion, my good brother. But I got some birthdays I got to shout out. Thanks a lot, Ellie Gold, my good friend. You'll be back with us again. Thank you. I want to say happy birthday to Linda Comer Crawford. I want to say happy birthday to Andrew Collins. I want to say happy birthday to Suzanne George Crutchfield. I hope I said that last name correctly. Good folks out there. Want to say in so many ways, folks, you heard our show. For the record right here, I'm Brian Summers, your host, and I promise to get these birthday shout-outs to folks I knew out there, and we're on our way. Want to say have a great day. Join us back tomorrow. We're going to have a great guest. Got a special announcement on Wednesday for the record here with Brian Summers on News Talk 1400 WSIC News Talk Now.